and today we're talking trash. Okay, I want to point out the game pin is right here in the bottom of the screen. Okay, Alan, are we good with my signal?
Yeah, everything's great right now.
Okay, good deal. So this was in the newspaper, the Ocala Gazette. Do you recognize what that's a picture of? Mount Ocala, right? If you've ever been on the east side of Ocala off of Baseline Road, you've seen this gigantic mountain, at least for our parts. It's our landfill, but something has happened. What has happened with our landfill, Alan?
It's just overflowing.
They had to close it. It's out of space. There's so many people moving to Marion County. We don't have enough places to put our trash. And so our county leaders are talking about where they can find more space because they figure that we're going to have more people, we're going to have more trash. But Alan and I got curious, didn't we, Alan? What did we get curious about?
I wanted to see, what is my trash made of? Do I have a lot of recyclable stuff? Do I have a bunch of stuff that just can go straight to the landfill? Or maybe I have stuff that can decompose, like compost.
So we're thinking like scientists, we kind of want to solve this problem ourselves, right? How can we actually not use up as much landfill space? Because let's face it, nobody wants this in their backyard, do they? All right, so this is the scientific process. This might look different from what you guys have seen. When scientists identify problems, like we just did, the problem of trash, they have a lot of different pathways that they can go. So we were curious. And so here, we're going to do a little exploration and discovery, okay? Because we want to try and solve this problem of how much of Alan's trash actually has to go to the landfill. All right. So we have a poll question. If we want to look at Alan's trash and find out what takes up the most space, right? We want to know what we're going to be testing. So take a minute and pick what question would be best for us to test. Oh, we were kind of all over the board, weren't we, Alan? So we had lots of different options here. So the majority of us picked where is the best place to put trash and why are landfills overflowing with trash? Alan, are those scientific questions?
Not really, no.
So they're good questions. They're questions that we want answered. But a scientific question has to be much more specific. A scientific question has to include what the scientist is going to test or measure on purpose. All right, so if we look at that, this red one here, we can see two things. We can see that Alan's going to look at his type of trash, and we can see that he's going to measure volume or space. So in a scientific question, you're going to find two things. You're going to find a variable that the scientist is looking at or changing on purpose. In this case, it's the type of trash. And then we're going to find one that they're measuring or observing. And that's what we're going to do today, isn't it, Alan?
Yes, it is.
All right. Alan, should we make some predictions before we start sorting your trash?
I think so.
All right. You guys ready for a prediction? So now that we know what our testable question is, what type of Alan's trash takes up the most volume, let's make a prediction. All right. He's going to have three categories. landfill items, recyclable items, and compostable, things that can go in the compost bin and decompose. Which one do you think will take up the most space in his trash can? Okay, so we think that the majority of the items in Alan's trash can are those that can just have to go to the landfill. We can't recycle them, we can't compost them. Well, that would make sense because we're running out of landfill space, aren't we, Alan?
Yeah, this makes total sense.
All right, I'm going to stop screen sharing. Alan, it is your turn. Show us this investigation.
Awesome. So since we're talking about volume, the way I'm going to do this is I have one standard box so that all of my items have to go into the same shape, same volume, at least structure of volume anyway. And we're going to see which one takes the most space in that box. But at first, I got to figure out what I got. So I'm going to spread it out here in front of me. First, we're going to start my breakfast. We had some eggs. So we have this container of eggs. This container of eggs, completely not recyclable. But I do have my eggshells. Eggshells, totally compostable. So let me spread out my eggshells up here. Maybe right up here next to the camera. And then we have my egg carton. Goes to the landfill, sadly. We'll put you over here. All right, next up, I'm a soda drinker, sadly. I got some aluminum cans. On the bright side, aluminum cans, recyclable. Awesome, we can make a third category off to the side over here. We'll set you on that side. Next up, peanuts. Always gotta have a great snack. It's a metal container, but it's made of cardboard and plastic too. It's mixed of everything. No way to recycle this really, sadly. So you're going to the landfill too. Let's see, what else we got? Ooh, gotta separate my cardboards out. So we got two different cardboards. This recyclable, once again. Set you off to that side. Dessert, steak and shake, love it. But it's styrofoam, gotta go to the landfill. All right, let's see. We have a milkshake. And on the bottle it says, please recycle. This is recyclable. Lovely. Now, if y'all knew me from before, I love frogs, and how I catch my frogs is with PVC pipes. Sadly, PVC, not recyclable, but I promise I'll use this again to catch more frogs. You want to stop me for a second?
Yeah, so I want you to keep sorting. I'm going to go back to the Kahoot so that they can answer a few more questions while you keep sorting, okay? All right, so let's go to our next question, my friends, while Alan keeps sorting. What type of investigation is this? Is Alan doing a controlled experiment or an observational study of his trash? Awesome. You guys are great. So this is absolutely an observational study. He doesn't have a control group. There aren't variables that he is trying to keep exactly the same so that it's a fair test. Some science can be done using a controlled experiment, and this might lead to controlled experiments, but what Alan's doing is an observational study right now. He just wants to know, what kind of trash does he have? So you see, he's been sorting things. If he was going to collect this data, what would be the best tool to collect the data in? A graph or a data table? All right, so most of us set a data table, and that's just one of those charts with all the numbers on it. That is how we want Alan to collect his data. But after you collect all your data, then you turn it into a graph. A graph are those pretty bar graphs or a line graph or a pie chart. Alan, which one do you think would be best for your data after you collect it?
I think because I'm dealing with some volume, I kind of think a data table. I like to see numbers for volume.
Yeah, so we're going to collect it in the data table first, and then he could turn it into a graph to get the picture of it. All right, let's see. I don't know if I'm ready. Oh, I'm not ready for this one yet. Can I pause it? I don't know how to pause it, guys. I went to the wrong question. Okay, we'll do this later. So let me stop screen sharing. All right, did you get it all sorted out?
I have.
All right, let's put it in some boxes and let's observe the volume.
All right, so I went ahead and beat you to it a little bit. I have my first box filled with my compost. My compost, can you see that? Let's see. Is maybe we'll say a quarter of the way filled. It's not filled to the top. It doesn't even take up half the box. So I think a quarter of the way full of this compost.
All right, good deal. That's his compost. What do we got next?
All right, let me unload this really quick. Next up, we're going to be doing my landfill. Let's go ahead and get this filled. There's quite a bit more landfill stuff.
So that's all the stuff our county needs to find space for, right?
Exactly. So with this one, you can see just barely breaking the top of this box. That's all my landfill stuff. So it's filled as much as possible. Overflowing in the way.
And then we've got recyclables, right?
And then we have our recyclables. Let's see. I didn't even show you all my recyclables because I have all these cardboard boxes. It's Christmas. So by a long shot, my recyclables are going to be way bigger. So let me go ahead and start filling up. We're already about where the landfill stuff was, and I haven't even gotten to this pile yet. So we got this already breaking the top, and then we got more and more boxes. Recyclables is way, way more volume than anything else that I have in my trash can.
All right, so let me screen share, guys. I should have had you answer this question after Alan collected his data. So just think in your mind how you'd re-answer it, right? So he's collected his data, he measured the volume in kind of our really casual way of using that cardboard box to measure the volume. And what we know is his recyclable items were most of his trash. Now, would scientists stop there? Would that be the end of their curiosity? So what is the best conclusion based on this data? Let's go there. I forgot we had this question, Alan. All right, awesome. So 22 of us, the majority of us recognize that based on the data we collected, the recyclable items take up the most volume. Now, there are two other responses that could be conclusions if our data was different, right? If the compostable ones filled up that box, that would be a valid conclusion, but that's not the data we collected. And if the landfill items had taken up most of the space in the box, that would be a valid conclusion. One of these is not a valid conclusion for our experiment or our investigation. It wasn't an experiment. Burning trash would make more space in the landfill. That might be true, but it's not a conclusion for this investigation. But the end or the conclusion of the investigation doesn't mean the end of the process, right? Because in science, sometimes one investigation leads to many more questions and many more investigations. We can go all over this chart with where we go in science. So here's a question. You can pick more than one. What are some additional questions that this might lead to? So which category of trash will decompose the fastest? Can trash be smushed to take up less space? Are there more efficient ways of disposing of our trash? And how can we make better use of the plastic that we're not recycling? What would be additional questions we could ask? You can pick more than one. What do you think, Alan?
All these are great questions to ask.
Yeah, and you guys may have additional questions or additional investigations that this would lead you to, right? I think that was the end of our Kahoot question. So let me stop screen sharing, make sure Alan and I are both pinned. Oops, I lost you, Alan. There we go. Okay. So Alan, I think we should probably hear from our students. What I would like to know is, what is one controlled experiment that this could lead Alan to? So do me a favor with your partners, or however your teacher gives you instructions, brainstorm what is one controlled experiment. We did an observational study. What's a controlled experiment Alan could do next? And then type it in chat. So just a reminder, a controlled experiment has one variable that the scientist changes on purpose, one that they measure, everything else they keep the same, exactly the same, they control it. All right, so Mrs. Andriola's class said have 3 bags of trash, okay? So we would definitely want a bigger sample size. If you were just sorting that trash out and observing it, it would still be an observational study, right? If though, you ask people, let's say that you ask everyone in class to make sure that they put all of their recyclable items somewhere else, not in their trash bag. And you gave them a set amount of time. You said you have 1 week, and at the end of the week, you need to bring in your trash bag. Okay, so you're controlling the length of time, you're controlling the instructions for the person, and then maybe your question would be, can people accurately sort their recyclable items out of their trash can? Or maybe do they leave some in their trash can? Then it's a controlled experiment.